You know, I think I've made the comment even last year, is every time I walk down that pathway and stand on the edge of the boardwalk and look at it, it just, wow. You know, it's so beautiful, it's so expansive, but there's going to be actually quite a few things that we're going to have to meet with and discuss before that April 1st deadline, and that's part of the reason that Spicer would get started this week, is the pathway down. I think it's about a quarter mile. Right now, it's asphalt switchback, then into wooden boardwalk. The asphalt switchback is currently deteriorating. We know it's not ADA accessible. So there's going to be a way that we make the edge of the concrete up here all the way till we get to that first ramp, first ramp onto the boardwalk, ADA. That's going to be option number one. And I don't know if that's all asphalt, all concrete, all wood, all crushed limestone, or if we'll have to do bars like we had to do at Loon Feather to make sure that was ADA. The second part, as mentioned, is that section of boardwalk to the north of that ramp entrance that goes underwater. Again, do we redo wood there? Do we do plastic Trex? Or do we do crushed limestone with culverts? There's going to be a lot that they look at, and I actually forgot to mention as well the 6 bridges that we also need to look at, because they're not ADA and they're currently insufficient for people to walk on, especially when it rains. So there's going to be a lot of options what to look at in terms of materials used, and they will be, again, evaluating all the pillars that go into the water. Because if the pillars that go into the water are not structurally sufficient, that unfortunately is going to open up a whole new conversation, and that will probably invoke new environmental stipulations that we'll have to adhere to.
Thank you.
So that makes me, that point makes me think of one other thing, because you have entrance to that area from Grove Road too. So is it going to look at that part of it? Because you have 2 places where you can get down to the park.
So it will not. That's a great question.
So it's not going to.
We spoke to the grant coordinator on site last year about, once she dedicated that walkway down had to be ADA. Of course, we know that was a big change to the initial estimates and project as a whole. So we asked, can we utilize the Grove Road site? But we cannot, because it does not give you direct access to the boardwalk.
Yeah, and I don't mean that part. I just mean, like, if you're going to look at the whole park, we should be looking at the quality of what's happening on the way down from Grove Road as well as that, because those are 2 entry points from, like, 2 different places. You can enter from Grove Road without even having to pay anything if somebody wants to walk in, but you can't do that at the North Bay entrance. So I think if we're going to look at it, we should at least check and see, like, what does it look at that part of the point too? Because I mean, if we're going to do it, it's going to be a big project. We should be making sure we look at all of those, in my opinion.
Okay, understood.
I had a question.
Sorry.
Trustee Rowe? Did she say you have to make both entrances ADA?
No.
Do you have to make both ADA?
No, you do not. The entrance off Grove Road is not a direct entrance to the boardwalk itself.
Thank you.
This park is one of the, if not the #1 used park for walking. Residents in Ipsy City, they come from all over to walk. It's a beautiful, beautiful park. And it has held up very well since the late early 80s, early 90s it was
90s.
built. So, but it does need a lot of work. And once we do this, you can apply for multiple grants, right? Not just the land and water conservation. Like, you could go federal, you could,
Yes,
it will
you could.
open it up. But we do have to do all the engineering and all the work in order to have it ready, shovel ready almost. So it is going to be very, very expensive, but the investment will last. Look how long it's lasted already. So it'll be well worth it. Just have to plan our budget, because I'm sure it's matching funds.
Correct. It would be a 50% matching fund, just like the trust fund grant I'll mention later is. And the max for it is 500 matching, so $1 million is the most you can get through the state for this project.
But you can submit it different ways.
Can you do it in phases? I doubt if $1 million is going to get you there, but it's.
I would have to ask if you could do it in phases, in terms of, and the only part you could potentially separate, and again, I'm going to say potentially, would be the 6 bridges. You'll have to do the pathway down, of course, the boardwalk itself, and that subsequent boardwalk.
But maybe you're saying you could get other grants, so if you got a match of $1 million here, then you could perhaps get more somewhere else?
Yes, you could.
I wonder if it qualified for border to border, I mean, kind of.
I think it would qualify for a lot of other grants, once we get this grant writer
The
who's
design.
familiar with SHPO and all the requirements, we can submit it in different areas. And the support from the city of Ypsilanti would be critical. It's a regional park. The Grove Road entrance is the city of Ypsilanti, and then the Huron Street is Ypsilanti Township, but it's enjoyed by many, so thank you for bringing this forward. We have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 7 is approve Spicer Group for General Parks and Recreation Grant Assistant Services for 2026. Motion Rowe,
Support.
support Thornton. And I was just going to add that it is budgeted.
Yes, good
All in
evening.
favor? Or question?
I just had a couple questions, John.
Sure.
So if I'm doing the math right, this is somewhere between 18 and 30,000 for the year. And for that, we get reviews, discussions, research, lists may be provided, and some meetings with your office. There's no actual work done for that 18 to 30,000, or would that dollar figure apply to work if it's done? And what if we don't meet with those people at all during the month? Are we on a retainer and we still have to pay it for that month?
No, you do not. Those are all great questions. So this is something that came up in discussion regarding some of these park and improvement projects, and that I discussed with the Spicer team, who as mentioned in the prior agenda item, helped us out on a lot of these projects. And this was a proposal they put together using an hourly rate. If they do not use those hours, they will not charge. I do not believe that we will use all these funds throughout the year. The goal is initially, they'll sit down with my office, go over the Parks and Rec master plan. We'll identify kind of some key goals that we would potentially look into. And then on their end, they're going to bring grants potentially to be applicable to us. If the township, full-time electeds and board were to choose to go after any grant, if they're actually applicable to our needs and our wants and our funds, that would come back to the board for approval. So that'd be a completely separate proposal. This is just to, I would say, give us a hand to identify grants that would be applicable to the township, and then the township would make the choice to go after them.
Okay. So when I read 15 to 2,500 each month, that doesn't mean we're paying it if we don't use it.
No,
Correct.
yeah.
That is just their estimation on what they thought they could do a month if the program were to go as they kind of imagined from our conversation. And I know that sounds very ambiguous, but it is something that they are very experienced and learned in grant processes, but as we've done this with them where it's not a specific grant we're going after at the offset, it was a way for them to broach what they thought it might be.
No, I'm good with the proposal. I just want to make sure we weren't paying for something if we weren't using it for that month.
No, and I,
Well, on page 1 of the actual contract, it said associated fees. We propose to do this work on a standard hourly rate basis, billing the township only for effort that we put towards this. The estimate for monthly effort would be $1,500 to $2,500, depending on the number of meetings we attend and applicable grants. So it is addressed in the actual contract.
Okay.
We have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 8 is budget amendment number 1. Clerk Swanson?
Sorry. Motion to amend the 2026 budget number 1, move to increase the general fund budget by $8,587 to $12,618,270 and approve the department line item changes as outlined. Move to increase the bike, sidewalk, rec, roads, general BSR 2 fund by $184,474 to $2,909,593 and approve the department line item changes as followed, or as outlined. Move to increase the 14B District Court Fund budget by $4,542 to $1,955,250 and approve the department line item changes as outlined. Move to increase the Compost Fund budget by $5,372 to $1,142,097 and approve the department line item changes as outlined. So moved.
Motion Swanson,
Support.
support Eldridge. Is there questions or comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item is to waive the portion of the financial policy that requires posting on Mitten and authorize residential service department with the purchasing to seek proposals for professional services for the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Trust Fund Grant Project to replace the pavilion and the restrooms at North Bay Park. This will be brought back to the board. A motion is in order?
I would so move.
Motion Rowe,
Support Thornton.
thank you. Support Thornton.
Question?
Sure,
John, would you
John.
like to?
Yeah, of course. John Hines, Municipal Service Director. So I'm requesting to waive the portion of financial policy that requires posting on Mitten to seek professional proposals for the prime professional service for the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Trust Fund grant that is going to replace the pavilion and restrooms at North Bay Park. I'm requesting to waive that portion due to the financial policy mentioning not having to post to Mitten if it's a professional service. And as we've not done that historically, but I'd like to work with the purchasing clerk to put together I would say, a standard requirement that we're going to send to engineering firms to give us a proposal, but also set up meetings and, each firm will get an opportunity to meet on site with myself and other staff, and then meet in the township as well. You know, every firm is going to given the same opportunity, but due to the expansive nature of what we're asking of them, putting it in a standardized document, I would feel would give an incomplete proposal opportunity for each prospective engineering firm. So this all goes with the second of the two grants to the MDNR that we applied for last year. This is for the trust fund, which, as mentioned, was to replace the pavilion and restrooms at North Bay. I have included pictures of what they were on, again, early winter 2023 when we did the site visit. And of course, that's now been 3 years, so you can understand that the conditions have only worsened over time. But although it's a very popular and functional pavilion, the concrete is very deficient. We've not been able to use the water fountain for many years. The restrooms give us a myriad of issues. We've had to close them and repair them often. And actually, due to the location of the restrooms, it's actually provided a kind of not welcoming environment for patrons to use, as well as our staff when they go to open or close them, depending on the time of day. The grant that the township applied for is a 50% matching fund, and it was for $308,600, which is a total project amount of $617,200. That does include everything from engineering to construction, and the prime professional that we'd be looking for is going to help the township put together the bid specs, obviously do everything in accordance with the MDNR and grant requirements, and be the construction administration. And per the MDNR's guidelines, any project over $15,000 must retain a prime professional, which is either a licensed architect or engineer in the state of Michigan.
Questions or comment?
Yeah,
Trustee Newman?
I have one. Based on my understanding of Mitten, and I know you mentioned that everybody pretty much submits the same template, so to speak. So without that, would you have a lot of inconsistent proposals? I mean, one proposal could be better than the other, whereas with Mitten, they were all pretty much on the same template, and you compared apples to apples, so to speak. Without that, one proposal may just be outstanding, and the other proposal may not be as outstanding. And then the Residential Services Committee would look at that, wouldn't they? Or maybe I'm misunderstanding.
No, not at all. No, appreciate that. So every firm is going to get given the same set of deliverables that we're looking for. The reason why the goal would be to do it this way is because their understanding of the project also plays a pretty key point. Everyone's going to be given the same questions, the same deliverables, and the same opportunities that the other is. Nothing is going to get something different. But to find firms in Michigan that actually oversee state-funded park grants, have done park improvement projects and do the construction administration is actually far more limiting than I would have believed. I have 4 that I know for sure have done it. OHM, Manikin Smith, Fishbeck, Spicer, but Bar Engineering does not do it. Carlisle Warman does not do it. I have to talk to Wade Trim. You know, all local vendors that the township have used, I'm giving the opportunity, and I've only found 4 so far that do this, but they are 4 that I know have done it and are familiar with Ypsilanti Township.
So just for clarity, everyone will be bidding on the same
Yeah,
professional
everyone will get the,
service.
yeah, it's just I don't want to utilize Mitten because I want to give it the time to give each one an individual interview and an individual meeting on site.
Then that means that they would have a better understanding. That means they would have a better understanding.
Yeah, instead of just putting it in a document, because you can have a pre-bid meeting, but a pre-bid meeting in the middle of the weather that we're having on site, I would fear would not be sufficient to give them the full information of what we're trying to do.
Okay. Thank you.
Trustee Rowe?
I know that we have a new financial policy, and I know that I'm not that familiar with it, but it used to be when you were gonna bid something out, like I know we're waiving this, but is this the same thing as we're authorizing you to go out? Because normally you would have that detailed thing that you're going out with, the instrument of services, you know, we want you to do this, we want you to do the design of the, and all, so I'm not sure. It says we're waiving that right for the posting. We're seeking proposals, but we don't have what it is that you're seeking.
Sure.
So I don't know if the financial policy requires that. It used to. You couldn't go to the board until you have,
Professional services are
yeah,
treated a little bit different, like architects, engineers, lawyers.
like, I don't know what, are they doing design? Are they doing the whole thing? And this is gonna authorize you to go ahead, just so I know what I voted.
Yeah, so
okay.
it would just authorize me to work with the purchasing department to finalize that standarding list of asks, which come from the MDNR's guideline book.
yeah.
And of course, they're going to be
Gotcha.
specific to ours.
Yeah.
And the last thing I wanted to add is, it will come back to the board for approval, of course, but at this point with the grant, just to clarify, we've not been awarded. The township board will have to accept the actual award from the state. It's a 4 to 6 month process, and we heard the news we were recommended in December. By starting now, we are able to incur costs because we put down 50% of the match, and the DNR will reimburse us if we get the grant.
When will you know?
They said 4 to 6 months as of December, so I'm planning on March to May. But at this point, you know, being able to decide on a prime professional, once the board approves it, we can actually, they can start putting together the bid plans. So there's, in a rosy world, theoretics that if, by the time that we accept the award for the grant, we have the bid packet ready to put on the street, and we could potentially start construction this year. Now, in the past, the MDNR projects have taken longer for a few reasons. With Clubview, we had an issue with the land ownership, even though the township ownership, there was 2 separate parcels, and that prolonged that process. But this one, we know that we won't have the same land issues that we had there, and I do believe that we could get started this year.
One follow-up.
Yes.
So is the design already approved by, like, the set of concrete and where it's gonna go and the size of the bathrooms? Is that, or are you doing that now? Gonna do that?
It would be being done now. The only thing that's approved or recommended is the replacement of the pavilion and bathrooms at the park. And that's one thing that, again, full-time electeds and the board would have to decide, because how it is now, I don't, at least myself personally, I don't think that's the best for the park in terms of how at least the building's orientated. But the choice would be to keep it as it is now in terms of the same footprint, even if we adjust the direction, or do we separate it out so the bathrooms are more easily accessible by Pavilion 2 and by just the walkers of the park or the people there for events. So that will be one up to the MDNR.
This is in North Bay, right?
Yep. It will be up to MDNR to allow us to change the footprint in that dimensions, and then up to you all to decide if you want it in that way, or if you want to just keep it as is.
I just personally, I know this probably isn't the time, but I'm just going to share it. I personally, whatever works for staff and what you think is the safest, orientation-wise, but I want it to be something other than what we did at Lakeview.
Okay.
Because like, we kind of went down on that one, and I know things were tight, but,
Well, the bathroom was separated from the pavilion, and it was connected.
yeah, I know, it
in the past,
just,
right?
just doesn't look, it looks dinky, and that's all.
Yeah, there'll be a few options to look at. I mean, I understand that
Right.
thought from Lakeside, but the benefit was to, again, bring it off the pavilion. So if you're having a.
No, and I don't care about that. It's just the size overall and how it just looks so small compared, people have family reunions, and I'm not sure they can do all that anymore. It's not that size that they used to. That's a well-used park. For family events, I know.
Yeah, with
That's all.
what was approved, there'll be, a considerable amount of options that are presented. The budget for this is higher than what was at Lakeside and Fort Heritage. So
And I'm
there
not
is,
trying to be negative. I'm not trying to say that at all, so apologize if it's taken that way. Just,
not at all.
y'all did good work.
I have a question.
Yes.
I have two questions. One is kind of similar to what Trustee Rowe just mentioned. When you sit down with whomever you're going to sit down with and you come up with that design or those standards, would that come back before the board before it goes out to potential vendors?
Yes, it would.
Okay, and then you mentioned 4 vendors earlier that are in this southeast corridor. How do we get the word out to the rest of the state, Northern Ohio, Indiana, wherever it is? How do we get the word out that we're looking for vendors on this project so we're not limited to the 4 you mentioned only? Although they may be the correct one to go to, how do we get it out to more people?
No, and the goal is to get it out to more people, not just those 4. And that's going to be utilizing the MParks infrastructure as well as the MDNR infrastructure.
Yeah.
You mean? How do we get the message out to potential companies to come in and look at this and maybe bid on it?
So I have contacts at both organizations, so basically it's going to be talking to them and see who their recommended prime professionals are in the area that do all of the above. Because doing all the above seems to be I would say the eliminator of firms right now. Some do great architecture engineering, but they don't do construction administration. The firms that do all of the above is what's, again, so far made it tricky to cast that wider net. But through the MDNR and MParks, there are a lot of engineering firms in this corridor that we can talk to.
Okay, we have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is public comment. Are there any public comments? You just give your name for the record.
Hello, hi, Monica Ross Williams. I am following up on some comments I made before the county commission, and I'm also coming here with the same thing. So with that, supervisors and members of the board, I'm speaking here today as Ypsilanti Township taxpayer and former elected trustee. I'm here because this board has reached a decision point, not a discussion point on public safety. And 2026 must be the year that action is finally taken. For more than a decade, Ypsilanti Township has paid a premium level for county enforcement services while consistently receiving less than what's been allocated. The township roughly funds 56% of the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Department budget. Yet year after year, the township receives fewer deputies than what is promised. This imbalance is documented and is unresolved. This is not a short-term staffing frustration. It's a structural failure. From a fiscal perspective, township residents are paying a level for services they do not receive. From a governmental perspective, it's worse. Service levels fall short, leaving the residents without a clear remedy or line of responsibility. Recent governmental disputes, litigations, and ongoing questions about internal operations within the Sheriff's Department only reinforces this concern. But these are county-level issues. Ypsilanti Township residents continue to bear the consequences without control, transparency, or the ability to reinforce performance standards proportional to what they fund. The board already knows this, and over the past decade, the township has studied its own public safety departments through committees, task forces, consultant reports, cost analysis, internal evaluations. Each time the conclusion has been clear, and each time the outcome has been delay instead of execution. More studies will not fix the chronic understaffing, more committees will not improve the response times, and more discussions will not change the simple fact that the township does not control its own public safety. Meanwhile, Pittsfield, Canton, and Van Buren Township has made this decision years ago to take total local control. They benefit from clear accountability, better alignment between funding and service, and transparency, performance data, and direct responsiveness to residents. This is why the continues dependence on a system the township does not control and cannot effectively hold accountable is no longer reasonable. When a funding partner repeatedly fails to deliver proportional service, the responsible course of action is to change the structure. If this board is serious about acting in 2026, the residents over the next 90 days must request the inclusion of the following concrete steps. First, direct the township attorney to prepare the legal framework required to establish a township law enforcement department. Second, authorize the transition plan with clear milestones and deadlines, not another exploratory study. Third, begin formal negotiation with Washtenaw County to wind down asset allocations and financial reconciliation. Fourth, develop a preliminary staffing, commanding, and budget model based on township volume and geography. Fifth, establish a community-based public safety oversight structure for board review. And finally, publish a public timeline with quarterly progress reporting so residents can track implementation. These are not radical steps. They are the minimal actions responsible governments requires. 2026 must be the year that the board move forward from discussion to execution. Continued delay is not a choice, and township residents have waited long enough. The residents deserve results and not another decade of discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments?
Jeremy Haley, Township resident. The developer must have forgot that Washtenaw County Road Commission gets paid by Washtenaw County taxpayers. Just saying it. And did you also notice when he talked about selling the home that he didn't mention that Ypsilanti residents can move up to him? He just said people. He didn't care who, just people. Also, if you guys can come up with a resolution or something to put forth on the Washtenaw, or actually Washtenaw County Sheriff, so we don't have a recap on Cross Street here in Ypsi Township, that would be absolutely horrible. Add something to correct things there, because evictions are going to start going up in the next year or two. The economy is going to start turning. Unemployment rate already up to 5.1% in the state, so it is going to affect Ypsi Township residents. And if you guys want to change something with the data centers, you have to get our representatives to start repeal the 2023 law that gave them the tax exemption. As soon as that gave them, they found that the exemption existed, they flew into the state. Get rid of that, and they'll all be pretty much gone. Also, ask our representatives, Jimmy Wilson, to start call on the repeal the exempt status of all colleges and schools except for property tax. Make them come to the townships and the local municipalities in which they reside for zoning, to talk to you, as they're going to do. They can keep their property tax, but they need to come to the people and tell us what they're doing. I want Jimmy Wilson to stand up and say that. I know he won't. That's political suicide for him. The whole Democratic Party will come down him like a sledgehammer, and he'll be out like a snap.
Thank you, sir.
We need people with courage. Thank you.
There are no other public comments. We have under other business is to authorize professional consultants, like environmental professionals, historic Native American professionals, as well as vibration and noise, whatever professionals may be needed to assist with the location of the computation center at the University of Michigan, and that be brought back to the next board meeting whenever we retain them. But we are authorized to proceed with getting them. Oh, did we? Oh, I'm sorry, I thought with the turn, we didn't move it? Okay, strike, my note. We had a motion to move it to other business, so strike that.
We have a letter.
The letter authorized under other business was added to approve the signing of the letter to all the elected officials for Resolution 2025-23 in support of moving the University of Michigan computation 2 data centers from the corner of Textile and Bridge to the ACM site. Motion Rowe. Support Swanson. Thank you for that clarification. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now we will need a motion to go into closed session for discussion regarding the tentative agreement that was reached with the TPOAM 2025 through 2029 union contract. Motion Rowe? Yep, I wrote that down. Motion Rowe? No, motion Rowe, is there support?
Support.
Support Eldridge. Now roll call vote. Rowe?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Newman? Newman? Swanson?
Yes.
Stumble votes yes. Eldridge?
Yes.
And Thornton?
Yes.
8:07 is when we'll be going into executive session.
Hi, Chad. I just gotta go to the bathroom. I'll wait.
We may.
Hopefully it won't be that long.
You have to do that?